Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Hello there, phenomenal leader. You have now entered the new era of consciousness here on Take the Lead, a consciousness movement with Angilie Kapoor. I am your host, Angilie Kapoor. Now, did y'all see our commercial at the start of the show for our newly redesigned website? Yes, y'all. Our new website is finally launched, so be sure to check it out at www.oversightglobal.com. I am so excited that it's now live. It's been a lot of work in the making. Now, the gal that we worked with, Blanca at Revolutionizer, did an absolutely fabulous job. So go check it out and show her some love. It's absolutely beautiful. I also hope that all of my fellow believers out there were able to properly observe Good Friday and Easter Resurrection Sunday yesterday. So we are actually here in Mexico in a beautiful historical town called San Miguel de Allende. And we're able to observe a whole week of beautiful, powerful ceremonies and processions through this incredible historical town. It's been such an amazing experience that I definitely want to share it with you all. So in fact, I'll be going deeper into our experience of Holy Week here in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, this past week after my conversation with our guest today. So be sure to stay right here with me so you don't miss our segment of Expand Your Mind by Exploring the World. All right, now I want to take a minute to allow you to get settled in because today we have another amazing episode for you. So, Kadin McElwain, an autistic college student, writer, and activist for autism awareness, is here with us today. Now, today is not just April 1st, which we typically observe is April Fool's Day. The month of April is actually Autistic Awareness Month, which synergizes perfectly with having our guest Kadin McElwain on the show. Now, Autism Awareness Month, again, observed every month in April, is a time to promote inclusion, acceptance, and support for people with autism. So, now in honor of this month, myself and my team here at Oversight Global would love to donate all of our proceeds from the sales of any versions of my books. So, Mindset, The Power of the Mind, Leader Mindset Activation, and Leader Mindset Activation, the workbook, to an autism organization of our guest's choice today, Kadin McElwain. So these books provide powerful tools and strategies to help individuals transform from merely managing the different aspects of their life to truly leading, as well as cultivating a mindset for success and taking control of their destiny. So take advantage of this opportunity this month to not only enhance and accelerate your own personal growth and development, but simultaneously help to bring additional resources to the movement to expand autism awareness. Just go to the link that's on your screen now to purchase any or maybe all of my books today. Now, I'm going to be completely transparent with you. When I hopped on a Zoom call with this young man who is our guest today for the first time, I was a bit taken back when he first came on camera because I wasn't expecting somebody so young to be interested in being on our show. But let me tell you, when I asked him that oh so important question, tell me why you want to be on my show, his answer completely blew me away. I was instantly impressed by this young man, and I know that you will be too. So, before I bring him on to the show, let me tell you a bit more about him. So, despite being told that he would never succeed due to his autism, after graduating high school early, Kadin McElwain has become an accomplished college student who's made the dean's list 3 consecutive times in a row. He's also an author and a writer and an activist for autism awareness. So today, Kadin is here with us to share his incredible journey of overcoming adversity and proving the naysayers wrong. I have no doubt that what he has to share with us today will empower anyone seeking inspiration and motivation to overcome their own challenges and celebrate their individuality. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming the young dynamo himself, Kadin McElwain.
Thanks for having
Hi.
me, Angilie. I
Yeah.
like that last bit you did. Young dynamo. That's pretty much what my life has been.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, Kadin. I'm so honored that you're here with us today.
Thank you, Angilie.
So let's go ahead and start off by having you kind of share your story. I know that you have this very inspiring story. So can you kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Absolutely. I was diagnosed with autism when I was 2 years old in 2006. Coincidentally, after getting the smallpox vaccination, the vaccination, of course, didn't have anything to do with it. I just always find it funny because that conspiracy is out there. And then I started out in a special needs school when I was starting with school. I couldn't talk until I was 7 years old. My birth mom and birth dad divorced, and this is what I love about them. So that no one had to go through a court battle, which is traumatizing enough for kids of divorced families, but add someone with autism in that, it's even more traumatizing. My parents agreed. But my older sister would go with my birth mom. I would stay with my dad, and it worked out beautifully. After a few years in special needs school, my dad put me in public education, the mainstream elementary, middle, high school, because he knew I was capable of so much more than that. Then at age 7, I started talking, started thriving, and then in middle school, all my services were cut off because they couldn't tell that I was on the autism spectrum.
Oh.
And when my dad and stepmom asked why they did that, they said, sorry, we can't tell he's autistic. Put him in a robotics camp or something. And they weren't going to tolerate that, which is another reason why I love them. They wrote to every single autism organization and a state senator in the state we were in, which is Tennessee. See, actually, this was in Tennessee. So you might expect a couple of those things. But that's why I love them. My dad and stepmom were my biggest supporters throughout my life. Then COVID hit, and this is where I really thrived because I did online school for my junior year. And at first, I didn't really like it. I missed the social aspect of school, but I found I could concentrate better in an online environment at home, which after doing some research for an article I wrote for the Homeschooling Network, I learned that a lot of people with autism prefer online school as well. So that year I got all A's and 1B in my junior year. And then for senior year, I was briefly back in school for a little bit. But after an incident involving a trans student where they were bullied and the school just sat by and watched, plus an exposure to COVID on my own side, we agreed that it would be best to leave the mainstream public school district completely and go to an online private school. And I thrived in that. And as I said, I was able to graduate early. I was working 2 jobs during my senior year while in school. And then college hit. I started out as a freshman at Lake Erie College. And this is where my advocacy journey started. Because for a class project, we were assigned with helping the community in some way. I chose to do an autism awareness fundraiser with my group for Autism Society of America. We actually hit $1,085 on that and won a competition with that. But unfortunately, I found that my group only did the assignment to get the grade and the prize at the end, which wasn't anything too crazy, just 300 meal points to use at the gas station thing that was in the library. And I thought, why are they assigning community service projects to students? They should want to do it because they want to do something good for the community, you know? And I found that a lot of different people with autism aren't taken seriously enough. Special needs programs, those with severe autism, Congress doesn't take them seriously enough, and we don't see in the news bill passed for special needs students, bill passed to help those with autism. We see Congress passes bill for TikTok. So I wanted to kind of change that. So the fundraiser led to me making some speeches and planning a few fundraisers, and of course, appearing on platforms like this to kind of tell my story. So now I'm on a mission to make sure people with autism and special needs get what they deserve and to bring this issue to as many people's attention as possible.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. You've had quite the journey. So, can you kind of tell us a little bit? I mean, it sounds like you have accomplished so much and you started so young when you started to do it. So, how do you think you were able to accomplish so much, with having autism and having kind of that challenge throughout your life, especially going to public school? Being autistic, I know that that's not, very typical. So what kind of mindset were you in? You said that your dad and your stepmom have been your biggest supporters. What kind of things did they tell you that really kind of gave you that motivation and inspiration to do those type of things that you've been able to do?
Oh, they've been my biggest supporters. So I think to answer the first bit of your question, I had a really strong support system in my corner. A couple of teachers from Blackman, which was the school that cut my services off without my parents' consent, which I honestly think is illegal, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of teachers were in my corner. I developed several good relationships at my high school, the in-person high school, and mainly my parents were some of my biggest supporters. If anyone doubted and me, they told him off. My own grandparents, one of my two grandparents, actually said, because of an incident when I was a teenager where I did something stupid, that I ought to be put in a mental person's home. Looking back at it, I think that since they did work for the government, working with people with autism and special needs, they might be speaking at a professional standpoint, but my stepmom told my step grandparents off right then and there because he knew I was capable. My dad knew, my birth mom knew. So I think the key was having that good support system. And in college now, one thing my dad always says is, you're in school to learn, you're in a massive amount of debt, you just have to have a really strong mindset and put in the work to get what you want, to cross that finish line, which is getting that degree in 2 years.
Right, right. Now, I know that when we talked earlier, you are at Kent State University, is that right?
Yes, Kent State University in Kent, Ohio.
And you are majoring in public relations, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
So what is it that you hope to accomplish with your degree in public relations?
I'm mainly hoping to work in the music industry. I've always had a love for and passion for music, but unfortunately, performing isn't always an option. Like, you have to be extremely talented, like Juilliard, Harvard, that kind of thing, in order to make it in those industries. So I figured the next best thing was PR, public relations, making press releases. I'm actually working for a musician and political activist right now named Stephen Marks, who I was on the phone with before the show.
Oh, very cool. So you've already kind of started your career then, really.
In much, I already have 2 clients, which are Stephen Marks and residential candidate named Jasmine Sermon.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So I love that. So I took a look at your articles before the show. So your article that you mentioned that you wrote for Homeschool Counseling Network. So I love the quote that you have in that article. So you said, if your child believes it, they can do it. Where'd it go? Again, if your child believes it, they can do it. They just need your support to make it happen. Whether it can be online school or university, your child will do great things in the world. All they ask is for your understanding, your support, and your trust. So I love that you have this in your article. So I really love, if your child believes it, they can do it. So can you talk a little bit about that and how, you kind of have learned that, if you are supported in believing something, you can do it. So talk about your belief in that, and then also how that same belief can help other autistic, kids or students or people kind of be able to really reach their full potential if they just believe in themselves and have other people believing in them.
It can help tremendously if people believe in said person, and if a student believes in themselves, it truly can. And if there are people who are negative towards that person and who have their doubts because of whatever they're going through, disability, race, gender, that's on the negative person. And the person who has the goals shouldn't give them the time of day. The negative person is the one missing out on an amazing person who has the capabilities to really make a difference in this divided society that we're in.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love that attitude that you have. One of my favorite quotes that I've remembered for years is by Eleanor Roosevelt, and it's the quote where she said, I can't remember the exact quote, but she was talking about you can only give permission to allow people to make you feel inferior. So basically kind of saying what you're saying is that it's really your belief system and allowing people that power to really have negative effects on you. So, like you're saying, if somebody is going to be a naysayer, you don't have to listen to them and you don't have to believe what they're saying. It's really on you to make that choice to not believe and to believe in yourself and to, not worry about what other people are saying.
Absolutely, Angilie, and I really like that too. Ooh, throughout my life as a teenager, I used to let people get to me, and I was extremely sensitive. But
Right.
as I got older, I realized those people didn't mean anything. What they said didn't mean anything. I, people just have to make sure that they don't let that control them.
Exactly. So one of the other things that I wanted to ask you is you mentioned that you started your kind of activism journey when you started college, and it was from a project, and that's really where your activism really kind of your journey really started. So I know that you mentioned when we met earlier that you've spoken to some government officials, in Ohio and different places, and so what is your ask of them to help you with what it is that you're trying to achieve with autism awareness?
That's a good question. My main ask is for them to take the issue more seriously, focus on
Hmm.
passing bills for those on the spectrum instead of focusing on bills that ban TikTok or ban drags it, or
Hmm.
book bans. So honestly, we could spend a whole show on book bans and TikTok bans because those are what I find absurd the most because we have bigger issues to pride. So
Right.
our main ask is for the government to focus on the people who need help, which are people with severe special needs and those on the lower end of the spectrum as well. Well, and one issue I've been advocating for is a bill where if you commit a crime against someone with autism, assault, robbery, that kind of
Hmm.
thing, you're done. You get 25 to life. Because
Oh,
the
wow.
person with autism and special needs doesn't know. They don't understand social cues. They don't know what's going on. They just want respect.
Hmm.
And the fact that someone like a robber or someone with a gun wants to take advantage of that is a really childish thing to do. It really is.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I agree. Can you kind of explain to some people who might not be, very savvy when it comes to autism? Can you kind of explain to us the spectrum? Because I know that you were kind of a high functioning autism, but you just mentioned, people who are kind of on the low end of the spectrum. Can you kind of walk us through what the difference is?
Yeah, absolutely. For those on the lower end of the spectrum, unfortunately, they can't talk, they can't walk in some cases, they can't maintain themselves, and they have to be taken care of for the rest of their lives instead of getting the
Mm.
chance to spread their wings in the world. And
Okay.
those on the higher end just have issues with the social aspects of life, like maintaining friendships, making friendships, understanding emotions, understanding facial expressions, taking things
Hmm.
literally has a huge one, particularly for me. But they have this intelligence that is so unique in this mind that they make all these different advancements in the world. For example, one I always cite, Isaac Newton had autism.
Hmm.
He used to teach to a class of empty students if the students didn't show up to class for the day, and he still discovered gravity. He had made all these accomplishments in science. Albert Einstein, on the spectrum, came up with one of the
Hmm.
most iconic scientific equations in the world. Daryl Hannah, started his class, was on the spectrum. Dan Aykroyd wrote some of the best scripts in
Yes.
comedy history. Coneheads, Ghostbusters was also on the spectrum. For Friedrich Nietzsche, who is actually one of my favorite philosophers, on the spectrum.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of different people who I suspect might be on the spectrum Like, for example, Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
You can just tell by his personality that he might be on the spectrum, or he was. So
Mm-hmm.
to answer your question, for those on the higher end of the spectrum, like myself, were super duper intelligent, but
Yes.
socially awkward. That's how I like
Mm-hmm.
to put it. And for those on the lower end, unfortunately, they can't walk, can't talk, can't maintain themselves, and they have to be taken care of for the rest of their lives.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. So, what type of resources did you have kind of growing up? Because you mentioned that in middle school that those were taken away from you. So, what kind of resources do kids and people with autism do they receive? But what resources are needed that's more that you're kind of advocating for?
Hmm. Well, for one thing, schools shouldn't have the ability or power to cut off said students' services without parental consent.
Right.
That's a big issue I have, because then you're just sabotaging the student. And
Mm-hmm.
other than that, students with special needs get an IEP, an individualized education plan, where they go to a special needs class to help them learn social stuff and how to make friends. So
Mm-hmm.
for a grade, when you get into high school, well, they get occupational therapy, physical therapy. Uh, oh, what was the one where someone came to the house? ABA therapy.
Okay.
That's a huge one that they get at. For those in high school or college, they get extended time on tests. They get a room to themselves if they put in that request. So
Mm-hmm.
what I haven't been to, but unfortunately, my roommate isn't the neatest, and he smokes in the dorm, or therefore, or I pretty much do my school stuff, and he in the lounge area, which is where I'm filming right now, which is fine because I can better concentrate in here.
Right.
And once you get into college, there's all these different groups on campus for autism awareness. I thought time and time again about checking one in particular out, but I haven't had the time because when you're in college, the schoolwork just stacks up.
Right.
But unfortunately, in college, in order to get the accommodations you're requesting for a class, you have to put in
Mm-hmm.
a request. That's simply
Okay.
case. The school should just give you it if you provide proof of documentation that you have such and such disability.
Mm-hmm.
The same with the room things. My big sister's in college, and one girl was being extremely mean to her and bullying her. So they went through the process of putting in a request for her to have her own room. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing it was, they had to have a medical reason, when really it should be, hey, maybe my daughter has the disease of not wanting to get bullied by people.
Right. Right. Exactly. Nobody wants that, right?
Right.
All right. So can you kind of tell me, what is kind of some advice or things that you would like to tell people who um I don't want to say are afraid, but kind of don't really aren't comfortable around autism or autistic people. And sometimes because of that difference of not understanding what autism is, they can, become bullies or say mean things and things like that. So kind of what is your message for people that, really don't understand autism and are uncomfortable around it? What is your message to them?
Mm. I'd say go understand it. Go learn about it.
Hmm.
Because someone you idolize, like celebrity, he might have. I like this here. Autism is not mental or emotional illness. Exactly. That's my advice there. It's not a mental illness or emotional illness. Except
Hmm.
for the person with autism who's trying to be friends with you or get a job from you, be a potential girlfriend, boyfriend.
Right.
You just want that. A normal life as a functioning human being in the United States of America.
Yes. Yes, no, I love that. I love that. You're completely right. Instead of kind of looking at people for their differences, really kind of see what you have in common with a person. Like you just said, we all kind of want the same things. We kind of want to live a life that we are happy with and content with, and want to have social connections with different people and things like that, and accomplish different things in our life. And it really doesn't matter if you have autism or if you have something else. You really shouldn't like focus on people's differences because, really at the foundation of it, we're really all the same, right?
Right.
So I love that you also are a regular writer for the sports column. I was checking that out earlier too. So it looks like you write like once a week or something. So I know that you were also a athlete. And so it looks like you love different kinds of sports because I saw that you wrote about baseball. You had an article in there about a football player. And then we're also, I think there was some what is it, MMA article in there. So can you kind of tell me about your love for sports and writing about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever I see an event in sports, I decide I'm going to write about it. Mm, and an hour or so later, my article is written and it's published. So one part I cover regularly is Jake Paul. Oh,
Oh, okay.
I've been covering all of his fights since Nate Robinson because of my own connection to sports. I used to be an athlete
Uh-huh.
for the Siegel High School Stars. I was on the cross country team there. We won 2 state championships during my time there. I wasn't on the team. I wasn't the best athlete, but uh, running in cross country helped me gain respect for sports. That's actually
Mhm.
when I started riding, when I was a freshman on the cross country team.
Oh, very cool. So do you do sports now in college or you just don't have time?
No, I don't. I really don't have time, man. And you probably have to get a scholarship for that, so it's probably too late for me now to try out for a sport.
Oh, I see. Okay. Are you hoping to maybe get into it maybe in your junior or senior year?
Hmm. Yeah, I might try to get back into working out. I've been trying to improve my health anyway. Wait, through my diet, Ian, but I
Mhm.
haven't really had the time to exercise.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of with everybody, right? That's the one thing we kind of leave for last is exercising. So, Kaden, thank you so much for being here and for having this conversation with me. So, did you have any final thoughts that you wanted to share with the audience?
Absolutely, keeping positive.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So I just wanted to mention one more time before we let Kaden go that again, we are running a special on our book sales. So all proceeds from the sales of any versions of my books this month, so Mindset, The Power of the Mind, Leader Mindset Activation, and Leader Mindset Activation, the accompanying workbook, will be donated to an autism organization of Kadin's choice. So be sure to go grab your copies today to not only enhance and accelerate your own personal growth and development, but to simultaneously help Kadin and others to bring additional resources to the movement to expand autism awareness. Just again, go to that link that should be on your screen now to purchase any or maybe all of our books today. So, Kadin, again, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, please let me know if there's anything that we can help you with in the future in your, activities to advance autism awareness.
Thanks for having me, Angilie.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay, so like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, my husband and I have been able to have an amazing experience that I definitely want to share with you all of Holy Week this past week here in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, as an expat highlight for this show. So, if you'll recall from our premiere episode in regards to this episode segment of Expand Your Mind by Experiencing the World, I firmly believe that travel is a transformative and essential element in one's personal and professional growth. That's why we're dedicating a segment of this show to highlight my and my husband's, as well as other expats' travel experiences, showcasing how travel can greatly improve and grow one's leadership skills. So, my hope with this particular segment is to inspire you to step outside your comfort zone, explore new cultures and perspectives, and challenge your assumptions about the world. Now, by sharing our travel experiences, we'll explore the ways in which travel can expand your consciousness, foster cultural competence, and improve your interpersonal skills. Also, interestingly enough, studies have actually shown that travel can enhance one's emotional intelligence as well as your creativity, adaptability, and resilience, all crucial ingredients for effective leadership of yourself and of others. Now, back to Holy Week here in Mexico. As my fellow believers out there know, this past week was a particularly important week of recognition and celebration of Good Friday and Easter Resurrection Sunday yesterday. Now, since my husband and I have been traveling full time the last couple of years, I've been blessed to have been able to experience Good Friday and Easter Sunday in different cultures and different countries. Now, last year we were in Bali, Indonesia, where people are mostly of Hindu or Muslim faith. Now, there is a small percentage of Christians, and there are Christian churches there, but I ended up spending my Good Friday and Easter Sunday while there attending online services of a church that was actually located in Australia. Now, currently, my husband and I are in Mexico in San Miguel de Allende, like I mentioned earlier. Now, this is a beautiful historical town in central Mexico. Now, here they celebrate what's called Semana Santa or Holy Week. Now, Holy Week or Semana Santa is the week before Easter in Latin America. Semana Santa celebrates the Christian holiday of Easter in several cities in Mexico, like here in San Miguel de Allende, feature reenactments of the events leading up to Christ's crucifixion. Now, this particular tradition here in San Miguel de Allende started back in the 1700s and has been occurring every year ever since, so nearly 300 years. Now, every day during the week of Semana Santa or Holy Week, there are various activities going on all throughout the city, as well as other cities around Mexico. In fact, typically throughout Mexico, Semana Santa is part of the 2-week spring break that schools take off. Also, several businesses are closed during this time, and Holy Friday, or Good Friday, as most of us know it, is an observed national holiday here in Mexico, meaning a majority of people have the day off to partake in and celebrate what is considered to be the most important day of Semana Santa or Holy Week. Now, my husband and I were blessed with the opportunity to be able to experience Holy Thursday, Holy Friday, or Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Easter Sunday this past week. So I'll quickly go through what typically occurs on the other days before sharing with you our specific experience. Now, on Lunes Santo or Holy Monday, a morning mass is held at one of the 7 main churches here in the city. Now, later in the evening, a procession takes place featuring an image of Jesus called the Apprehension of Christ, where he is accompanied by Judas and Roman soldiers and is taken to a jail cell in the church. On Martes Santo, or Holy Tuesday, it's marked by a religious ceremony at the same church in honor of Christ who is imprisoned. The ceremony entails the recitation of traditional songs by children. And in the evening, a highly venerated statue of our Lord of the Column is escorted from the vestibule of San Juan de Dios Church to the main square in a grand procession accompanied by flowers and incense. The statue plays a significant role in various events throughout Holy Week. Now, on Mercoles Santo, or Holy Wednesday, a procession takes place from the Oratorio Church in Centro San Miguel. The procession includes women dressed in black carrying baskets of flowers and small statues of saints, as well as young girls dressed as angels. The procession also features life-size statues of saints and ends with a statue of Jesus dressed in a maroon robe with a golden sash and a crown of thorns, being carried by men in black pants and white shirts towards Calvary. Now, on Jueves Santo, or Holy Thursday, in San Miguel de Allende, this is a significant event with banks and most businesses closing for the occasion. The day marks the remembrance of the Last Supper, Jesus' washing of the feet of his disciples, and the arrest of Christ. Now, people participate in special masses where they visit the 7 main churches in the Centro and explore the Loreto Chapel at the Oratorio de San Felipe Neri, which is only open to the public on this particular night. The chapel is a must-see sight with its overwhelming gilding, mirrors, cherubs, and angled walls. Now, in the evening, people stroll through the streets, enjoying the balmy air and munching on various goodies from street carts. Now, Holy Thursday was the first day of Holy Week that my husband and I experienced. We attended the Mass at the Templo de San Juan de Dios that evening, where people were praying to the particular statue that would be used in the following procession and taking communion. The Mass was then followed by the procession of the reenactment of the arrest of Jesus Christ. Now, after the procession passed us, we joined the crowd in following the procession as it made its way around the cobblestone streets of the centro of the city. Now, let me tell you that the energy of the air in the city was one of thick emotion. Everyone was very quiet as we walked, very respectful, and because of the thickness of the emotional energy and what that reenactment of that procession meant, I really found myself getting openly emotional for what would be several times during my experience over the next few days. Now, on Viernes Santo, or Holy Friday, or Good Friday, as we know it north of the border, this is the most significant day of Holy Week in San Miguel de Allende. It's a day of solemn and awe-inspiring religious observations with processions and masses and other events taking place all around the city. Now, this is the pinnacle of Semana Santa in San Miguel and is considered the most profound and meaningful day of the entire week. The church bells that typically ring joyously and raucously throughout the year will remain silent on this day, and businesses will be closed. It is a day when the entire community comes together to witness the solemn spectacle, with people from across the country and beyond gathering in the Jardín to participate in this unforgettable experience. Now, the Holy Friday procession that takes place in the morning in San Miguel de Allende includes the trial and sentencing of Christ before Pontius Pilate, followed by a procession of religious figures that is an over 2-hour long production attended by thousands of people, including San Miguel locals, Mexican nationals from other cities throughout Mexico, and various foreigners from all over the world. The procession includes a statue of Mary as the Virgin of Sorrows, angelitos, and a statue of Christ known as the Rain God. The main priest of San Miguel always plays the part of a man tied up and dressed in a loincloth, which is a tradition that was started by Father Luis Felipe Neri Alfaro in 1765, while others dress in purple sackcloth and carry skulls and wooden crosses. Now, the procession culminates in a powerful moment when the statues of Christ and his mother come face to face, with Jesus lifting his head and looking directly into his mother's eyes. Now, I'm telling you, the emotional impact of this moment is truly palpable. Now, my husband and I arrived early to the Paraquay or parish to get a good spot for this highly significant procession. Our experience again was that everyone, thousands of people in this square, were so quiet, almost dead silent to witness this 2 hour spectacle. Everyone was extremely respectful. And again, the air was so palpable with emotion. I know I again found myself crying a few times throughout this procession. And my husband stated that he was able to experience so much history of the Christian faith and really felt the collective emotions of the Lord's people during this spectacular experience. Now, later on in the evening of Holy Friday, the Via Dolorosa and procession of the Holy Burial takes place. Over 2,000 participants dressed in black suits striped with purple sashes, black dresses, black lace mantillas, and white gloves carry beautifully carved statues of saints through the streets in complete silence except for the somber cadence of drum beats. The procession is led by a statue of the dying Jesus nailed to the cross and the body of Christ himself, surrounded by lanterns and borne by 36 men in black, ends the procession lying in a glass casket, almost buried fully in a mountain of flowers. Little girls in white dresses with purple sashes strew rose petals and chamomile sprigs along the route, and the air is heavy with their scent. Now, on Sabado Santo, or Holy Saturday, is mostly quiet as the town and the world awaits the anticipation for the joy of Christ's resurrection on Easter Sunday. So in San Miguel, Domingo de Pasco or Easter Sunday celebrations actually begin on Saturday with evening masses and fireworks announcing the good news. I'm telling you, we heard fireworks all Saturday night. So this is the real deal. So the soberness of the week, especially Holy Friday, is past and it's time to celebrate in the glory of the resurrection of Christ. Now, Easter morning is marked by special masses in every church in town, followed by the tolling of bells that continues until everyone goes home for a feast. The release of tension from the heavy emotion of the preceding days is palpable as people celebrate the resurrection of Christ. Now, in San Miguel, the tradition of firing paper mache figures of Judas Iscariot, the hated betrayer of Christ at noon on Easter Sunday, has evolved to include effigies of unpopular politicians as well as authority figures. Now, these figures are strung across Calais, San Francisco, and adorned with fireworks that explode in a chain reaction, causing the figures to dance in the sky. As they are destroyed, children and adults scramble to collect the pieces of as souvenirs. Now, the tradition dates back to the colonial times when it was meant to teach a lesson about the consequences of bad behavior, but today it is a lighthearted celebration of fun, family, and food here in San Miguel de Allende. Now that Semana Santa or Holy Week in San Miguel de Allende is past, the final tradition of this yearly iconic event happens on the Wednesday after Easter, where a final procession carries the statue of our Lord of the Column back to the church complex, which is part of the World Heritage Site near San Miguel de Allende. Now, in conclusion, my experience during Semana Santa in San Miguel de Allende has truly been unforgettable. The stunning processions, the beautiful decorations, and the deeply spiritual atmosphere all combined to create a truly immersive and emotional reenactment of Christ's crucifixion on Good Friday and the joyous celebration of Easter Sunday, which truly allowed me to connect with my faith in a way that I've never experienced before. The people of San Miguel de Allende are incredibly welcoming, and their passion for their faith is truly inspiring. I highly recommend that all of my fellow Christians out there make it a point to attend a Semana Santa or Holy Week celebration somewhere in Mexico, but definitely here in San Miguel de Allende to truly experience the deep emotion and meaning of Good Friday and Easter Sunday. The rich history and culture of this beautiful city, combined with the profound spiritual significance of the holiday, make for a truly unforgettable experience that will stay with you for a lifetime. There you have it, my amazing, phenomenal leaders. As this episode of Take the Lead, a consciousness movement with Angilie Kapoor comes to a close, I want to thank my guest today, Kadin McElwain, again for joining us today and for sharing his inspirational and empowering story and message. And also thank you, beautiful, phenomenal soul, for being here with us today as well. Remember, I don't believe in coincidences, and you, my friend, were meant to be here today to receive whatever message you were meant to receive today from this episode. So keep showing up, keep loving on yourself, and progressing in your journey to becoming the phenomenal leader you are truly meant to be. Now be sure to join me next week as I'll have another fabulous guest joining us. Now, for our episode next week on April 8th, father, entrepreneur, and community activist Ashton Young will be joining me to share his journey of overcoming obstacles to embrace his true self, as well as the work he does in his community to help keep the kids of Jacksonville, Florida safe. It'll be another conversation you won't want to miss, so be sure to set your reminders to be back here with me next Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. All right, my amazing, phenomenal leaders, have a great week, and I will see you next Monday. Take care. Coming up next week on Take the Lead, a consciousness movement with Angilie Kapoor, guest Ashton Young shares his journey of the transformative power of self-love. Don't miss next week's episode on E360 TV.